What's up, guys? Brett Appley here from dailyfanmma.com, back with another UFC quick picks here on the Mayo Media Network. We have UFC 267 this week, Blachowicz versus Teixeira, Sandhagen versus Jan in the co-main event for the Bantamweight Championship. 15 fights on the slate. This is just an outstanding card. I'm really stoked to talk about it. As always, I'm going to give you my favorite cash game play, tournament play, salary play, and my fade of the week on DraftKings. Before I get into it, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, like the video, and comment below who you are picking in the two championship fights this week. Always curious to hear your thoughts. Over at dailyfanmma.com, we're doing promo code UFC267 for 50% off any monthly package. That's the biggest discount I've done so far. Have to celebrate this card in some way or another. So UFC267 on dailyfanmma.com for any monthly package. Gets you all the full breakdowns, DraftKings analysis, podcast. I just did an hour-and-a-half podcast with my boy CRG1010, breaking down every fight on the slate, rankings, projections, betting content, all that good stuff. Without further ado, let's get into my cash game play, which is going to be Khamzat Chimaev at 9.5K. All right, cash games this week. I'm rolling with Khamzat Chimaev at 9.5K, and I almost didn't use them. I almost didn't use them here. I almost went with the salary saver, but there are just so many strong plays on this slate, which is why I don't want to pigeonhole you into one specific fighter. For example, Islam Makhachev is also on the slate, priced up at 9.6K. He rates out as an excellent cash game play as well. There's two championship favorites. There's a lot of different ways you could go this week in cash games. I think Chimaev is the best play on this slate, and I'm going to explain why. First of all, he's one of the biggest favorites on this card at minus 650 over Li Jingliang. Chimaev's 3-0 in the UFC. I know he's still inexperienced as a professional. I know he still hasn't fought the greatest competition, but we're working with metrics here, and he has one of the best chances to win according to the betting line. He's also a fantastic fighter from a DraftKings perspective because he has a dominant grappling style, and he has put up big scores in the UFC thus far. He scored 124, 122, and 127. And that isn't just a coincidence. It's in part because he's fought weak competition. He's been able to finish, but in part because of his style. I mean, he's going to go out there and aggressively wrestle, get the fight to the ground. He's going to be able to earn control time, and he throws a ton of strikes on the mat. Against John Phillips in about 6 minutes, he landed 124 ground strikes. He TKO'd Reese McKee in a round, landed 68 ground strikes in just a few minutes, and that adds up from a DraftKings perspective. So not only is Chimaev highly likely to win, not only does he have the base that we look for, which is an aggressive grappling style, a dominant control style to score you those points, he's also going to throw strikes. He's also going to throw strikes on the mat, and to top it all off, he has the best finishing line on this entire slate by far at minus 172. So not only everything I've said, but he also is very likely to win inside the distance, which only raises his ceiling. I think Chimaev has the best, if not one of the best, floors on this slate. Very safe in the sense that he's likely to win. Safe in his style that he's going to score you points. He's expensive, but a great option on this card. Chimaev is my favorite cash game play of the week. Moving on to my tournament play of the week. I'm going to give out Albert Duraev at 9.2K, and I'm not sure whether he's going to be sneaky or not. I think he'll get some ownership regardless. All these fighters will. Duraev's 14-3 professionally, making his UFC debut here against Roman Kopylov, and I'm hoping he goes a bit under-owned because he's making his UFC debut. He is minus 360 over Kopylov, and he is another dominant wrestler and grappler. We saw him on the Contender Series, and he won in the first round, took his opponent to the mat quickly, controlled him, and ended up winning by neck crank in just a few minutes. He also landed a bunch of strikes on the ground there, 78 total strikes. So he's another fighter. Same thing I said about Chimaev. Capable of landing takedowns, earning control, landing strikes on the mat. And he also has a fantastic inside the distance line of -130, which I believe is the second best line on this slate. So Duraev has incredibly high upside, even though, yeah, he's a bit of a risk. We haven't seen him in the UFC. That's why he's more of a tournament option to me. He's fighting Roman Kopylov, who has a striking background, has only fought once in the UFC, and he lost by submission to Carl Roberson a couple years ago. We haven't seen him since 2019. I think Kopylov could have success at range. That's maybe a potential weakness for Duraev. Durayev's been finished a couple times very early in his career, in like 2014, 2012, against incredibly good regional competition. The issue for me is as soon as Roberson started to grapple with Kopylov, he was able to body lock him, drag him down, take his back, and submit him. And Duraev is almost certainly a better grappler than Roberson, and that's kind of why he is a sizable betting favorite. His skills on the regional scene look phenomenal. I posted a clip on Twitter of him controlling his opponent on the mat for a minute or so. If you want to check that out, it's just, I believe he has the skills. I could be wrong, but I believe he has the grappling skills that will translate to the UFC, and I believe he's in a style matchup here where he can have success. Kopylov has potential weaknesses on the mat. Duraev should look to take advantage of those. A fantastic style to score well on DraftKings. Perhaps a little bit lower ownership because he's making his UFC debut. A great finishing line, and he saves you a little bit off the top end. So I like the upside for Duraev here. He's going to be my tournament play of the week at 9.2K. All right, moving on to my salary play of the week. I'm going to roll with Corey Sandhagen at 7.4K, and this isn't going to be too much of a surprise if you follow the rest of my content. But Sandhagen's a plus 178 underdog to Petr Yan in the co-main event here, which, whether you believe there's value or not on that line, it is what it is. He's 7.4K, and we are absolutely desperate for underdogs this week. There are a lot of heavy favorites. There are a lot of very questionable fighters priced below the mid-range, and you have to save salary somewhere. And I think Sandhagen is a good option. Ideally, he'd win, but even if he doesn't win, in theory, he has 25 minutes to work with here against Yan. The fight's minus 125 to go the distance. Sandhagen strikes at a very high rate. He's landing 6.32 significant strikes per minute, absorbing 4.05. I don't think he's going to dominate Yan by any stretch of the imagination, but I think he has enough volume to compete with Yan at distance, potentially have advantages, and if you give him 25 minutes to work with, win or lose, he's going to put up a fair amount of points. I do expect him to be popular, though, at 7.4K. That's one of the downsides, but I can't ignore him at this price. With 25 minutes to work with, considering that volume and considering how much savings he does give you at 7.4K, Sandhagen, I think, is one of the better salary savers on this card, and he's going to be my salary play of the week. All right, moving on to my fade of the week. I'm going to go with Lerone Murphy at 9.3K. Murphy is minus 300 against Makwan Amirkhani, and I'll talk a little bit about why I think Amirkhani is worth a shot on DraftKings as well at 6.9K. I do think Murphy's going to win. However, Amirkhani is a pretty strong wrestler, and we have a large sample size of him having success on the mat. He lands 3.61 takedowns per 15 minutes, weak striker, weak cardio, which is why most people expect Murphy to win in this matchup. But Murphy's 9.3K, and there are so many elite options on this slate, including Chimaev, including Makhachev, including Duraev, including Ankalaev, and including the two championship fighters favorites in Blachowicz and Yan. So Murphy is going to need an absolutely dominant performance at 9.3K to have any shot at the optimal lineup, and he's likely going to have to outscore most of those names that I mentioned. Is he capable of earning a finish? I think so, but I don't know if it happens at a high rate. He's plus 150 inside the distance. That's fine. Typically, Amirkhani slows down toward the end of fights, so if a finish does occur, I would expect it to come late rather than early. And the issue is he's not going to land a high volume of significant strikes. Murphy's not likely to land a high volume of takedowns. I think he needs an early knockout. And if Amirkhani does land a takedown in round 1, for example, that could suck a lot of value off of Murphy because he's not going to be able to land strikes or knock him out from his back unless his name is Nico Price. And I just think, considering the strength of this range, we can't play everyone. Murphy's going to end up being my fade of the week at 9.3K. And I do like a shot on Amirkhani at 6.9K because, A, he saves you a ton of salary. B, he has a grappling-based skill set, which does score well on DraftKings should he win. And C, Murphy, for what his strengths are, he's defending takedowns at 41%. He's fought in the UFC 3 times. He's given up 7 takedowns. And that doesn't mean everything, but it does suggest, at least early, Amirkhani may be able to get Murphy to the ground. And at 6.9K, I'm willing to take a chance on Amirkhani for his grappling upside, for the price, and for potentially a bit of weakness in Murphy's game. Murphy will be my fade of the week, shot on Amirkhani at 6.9K. And that's going to do it, guys, for this week's UFC Quick Picks. I appreciate the support. As always, you can follow me on Twitter, Brett Appley, @TTP. Check out the content, dailyfanmma.com. Use that promo code UFC267 for 50% off any monthly package. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. As always, shout out to Pat and the team for having us on. Like the video. Comment below who your favorite, who you're picking to win in the main event and co-main event. And as always, best of luck. Stay safe out there. We'll talk to you soon. Peace.